Sunglasses at Night by A.R. Eldridge. Narrated by the author. It was cheap fun, but cheap fun was still fun. The three of them bowled down Laurel Canyon Boulevard in Bruno's dad's borrowed 1981 Porsche 911 Coupe with the top down, blasting scratchy rock from an FM station. Bruno and Aston were in the front, and he was in the back, doing his best to inhale a Marlboro Red through the rushing air of the canyon all around them. Woo! Bruno yelled as he careened around a bend. Fuck yeah! Once he was on the straightaway, he turned full around, apparently with no enduring survival instinct, and snorted hard enough to pop a membrane in his sinuses. Roll, where you want to go tonight? The good thing about keeping the company of children is that they inherently defer to you. Human hierarchy is an absolute, if soft, structure, and if you signify in just the right way, they become putty in the hands. Roland shrugged. I don't know. What's that new club, Pauline's? Cassie said that was cool. Let's check it out before it gets diluted by the plebs. Yeah, rad. As Twisted Sister faded out, it was replaced by a pulse of sinister arpeggiations. Oh shit, turn it up, Aston said. I wear my sunglasses at night so I can. Corey Hart's refrain escaped into the California night like an exorcised soul. Haha, just like you, Roll, Aston said. Roland did not reply. We're gonna get some pussy, Bruno said, and pounded the leather steering wheel in time to the thudding beat, and Roland rolled his eyes under the Ray-Bans. The trade-off for associating with these boys was that he had to put up with all the bravado, all the strutting and posturing, a cancer metastasizing even faster now that they were loaded. Bruno's father was a film producer, a faceless, bespectacled man who wore suits and tried to buy his children's affection, which they hated him for. Aston was the son of a well-respected Hollywood cosmetic surgeon. He had met them at one of the fashionable clubs, because of course he had, and decided they made better allies than the alternative. They were bolder than kids used to be. Parents had always said that, as long as he could recall, but most parents didn't have the bird's eye view of history that he had. These children were legitimately wilder, more reckless, more willing to do risky and taboo things that would have been verboten in earlier times. Sex and drugs, mostly. They were so open with it. It always blew his mind how each generation would mutate slightly from the last. Not always, and not completely for the worse, but rarely definitively for the better either. It was the relentless showing off that really got to him, the machismo and one-upsmanship. Bruno drove like a nightmare. It grated on him. He was also hungry, and that was inevitably making him irritable. He would lose them in the club, he decided, wander off. Then, the next morning, shrug and say, Found myself a Betty. What you gonna do? They wouldn't give him any grief for that. As they pulled up on the club, there was already a line forming outside. Pauline's was a goth club. From inside, they could hear strains of Bauhaus's Bela Lugosi's Dead, rat-a-tat-tatting away in the darkness. Vibing, Bruno said, and Aston nodded his head in agreement. Mega vibing. They always made sure to be noticed coming in. 3 young kings in their prime. They never went to the rock clubs. Didn't mingle with the hair metal guys and chicks into Motley Crue and Guns N' Roses. But with something a little darker like this, a little more elegant and tasteful, they could be counted on to make the scene. You never knew quite who you might run into. You might meet Susie Sue of the Banshees fame, or Jane's Addiction's Perry Farrell, ready to chew your ear off on a coke bender. People came and went in the shadows. He'd seen it all before, of course, but he knew a good scene when he saw one, and he liked this one. The bouncer was a tall, thin guy in a trench coat. A single gold cross dangled from one ear beneath a blue-black mullet. He had cheekbones you could slice an orange on. He gave Roland the once-over. "You gonna wear those glasses inside?" "Yeah, I guess." The bouncer nodded him in. Just a sartorial body check to see if he really backed himself. Inside, the room was a maze of twisting bodies and strobing lights. "Nice," Aston said, surveying the room. "Check out the talent." He gestured to a clump of girls dancing together, their hair teased out to manic proportions. "Yep," said Roland. He had to ditch these infants. "I'm going to get a drink." He walked off without waiting for a response, then, once out of sight, ducked around a corner. He found a small space to himself and retrieved a Marlboro. Smoking was the one vice that had not left him. Any other drugs, or food for that matter, would have him violently retching up blood. But the curse had never seen fit to deprive him of his first love. It used to be a pipe. Now, cigarettes or the occasional cigar. He closed his eyes and inhaled with the sweet ecstasy of the martyr. It didn't last. "Got a light, handsome?" Roland opened his eyes and found himself staring down into the emerald green of another pair. The girl was short, comely of figure, and wearing a mod dress that could have come right out of the 60s. And he'd know. She even had a tiny little beehive haircut and cream go-go boots. He didn't think she could be much more than 17. "Always for a lady," he said, retrieving his Zippo. They stood there in the dark corner of the club with the music thumping all around them, and he smiled to himself. Fate had brought him this. "What brings you in here?" she asked. "Same thing as you, I imagine. Booze, music, company." She said, "I only enjoy a very specific kind of company." Coming on very strong. Too strong. Was she a pro? She looked young to be a pro. It didn't much matter. "Oh yeah?" he said. "What are the requirements?" "A nice jawline is a good start," she said. "Let's go outside." There was no courtyard, only a scummy back alley. A couple rats squeaked and made off into the darker recesses of the night at the pair's footfalls. "Why don't you take off those sunglasses, handsome?" she cooed. Maybe later," he equivocated. He spun around, grabbing her by the hip, and pushed her, not too hard, up against the wall. He kissed her neck and she moaned. He pushed himself up against her. Now she was ready. His canines lengthened like deployable wheels, and he pushed them up against her neck. He bit down. Nothing happened. They wouldn't go in. Her neck was as soft and delicate as any girl's, but there was no give. Grunting, he tried again. She let out a long, low laugh, and he could hear the age in it, the eons curling back against the past. "You gotta bite harder than that, handsome. And here I thought you were a tall glass of water," she murmured. He released her. The odds were low, but not impossible. He was just surprised he hadn't caught it sooner. "Got you young, huh?" "I was a maid," she said, and her voice sounded far away, her accent slipping to British. "He came out to our manor asking for shelter. There was an awful storm, and we couldn't very well turn him away." "How long have you been here?" "Oh, a couple decades. There's a few of us. It's the perfect cover. Did you ever see The Lost Boys?" He shook his head. "Well," she said, "give me another cigarette, and I'll tell you the plot." They talked for a little while. Her past was remarkably similar to his. Wanderers, both of them. Spiritual vagabonds, roaming the earth. They'd both amassed vast fortunes in their time, then pissed him away for a joke. It was funny how the world worked. He had assumed he would become tired of it, bored of the endless repetition. He hadn't, though. Not after all this time, and neither had she, it seemed. The world was a bigger, wider, stranger place than you might think, even for the likes of them. When they were finished, she planted a small, chaste kiss on his lips and gave him a card. It read, "Nancy Singleton, gig photographer and boudoir shot specialist. Come see me sometime," she said, waving as she disappeared back into the club. He stood there, smoking another cigarette. He was still hungry. Somehow, though, he didn't feel quite so empty. Thank you so much for listening to this story. If you've enjoyed this podcast at all and would like to help support the show, all I'd ask is just think of one person you know who might also enjoy this and let them know. Suggest they check it out. Thanks very much. See you next time.